The NHI has been in this, something that we've been discussing in the industry for quite some time, and I'm joined today by Professor Roseanne Harris, Head of Policy and Regulatory Affairs at Discovery. Good morning, Professor.
Hi, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Give us a bit of a state of the nation in terms of where we at with the NHI. Where we come up. Maybe start with some of the people that maybe just don't know what it is all about. Quick little history, and then what's transpired and where we at, and where do you guys see this going forward?
Sure, it's been a long journey. So the concept of the NHI is something that we've been debating and deliberating on since I think 2007. We've had a green paper, a white paper, a draft bill, another draft bill. But where we are at the moment is that we have an NHI bill which has gone through the part of the parliamentary process. So back in June, it was passed by the Portfolio Committee in Parliament and went through the National Assembly. Now, prior to that, there was quite an extensive consultation period. There were about 112 presentations that were made to the Portfolio Committee, and it is quite disappointing that there were no substantial amendments that were made to the bill as a result of that Portfolio Committee process. But because the bill includes aspects that affect the provinces, and it's a fairly serious impact on the provinces and on the way in which health services are delivered by the provinces, the bill then has to go to the National Council of Provinces, and that's the position we're in right now. So at the moment, the various provinces are holding public hearings on the bill, and then the National Council of Provinces will be deliberating on the bill, probably in late October, during November, and then they will vote on the bill. And they may make amendments based on the inputs that they are receiving during this consultation process, which then will need to go back to Parliament for ratification, or they may pass it in its current form and then send it to the President. Even if that happens, the President may still refer it for a constitutional opinion, and that's likely to cause some delay because already in the parliamentary process some constitutional issues have been raised in the bill. So that's kind of the legal state of where we are in terms of the bill, and there's still a few scenarios that can play out in terms of whether there's any amendments made to the bill.
Right. So for those that are not necessarily up to date with what the NHI is all about, won't you just give us give us the concept, just to
Sure.
understand what it is all about?
Yeah, so the high-level proposal, really, in terms of what the NHI bill proposes, is it establishes the NHI fund as an entity, very much like, say, the Unemployment Insurance Fund or the Road Accident Fund. It's that kind of entity. It's then funded by tax revenue, and it hasn't been costed yet, but that's the structure, that you would have this NHI fund funded by tax revenue. And that fund would then be purchasing healthcare services for the members of the fund. Now, this is where the challenge comes in. Having a fund like that to purchase services from both public and private healthcare providers to provide healthcare services to the population, that is something I think that we can all agree is something that we need. That we need that coordination and also the opportunity for capacity in the private sector to be supporting public sector patients where that capacity isn't available in the public sector. The challenge is that the NHI bill proposes that this would be a single fund. In other words, it would be the only provider of healthcare services, and once it has been fully implemented, then there wouldn't be a role for other funds such as medical schemes. And that's where the debate comes in, is that can we afford to have the entire health services carried by this single fund structure? And is it the most optimal and efficient way for us to deliver healthcare services to the whole population. And that's really where the debate comes in. It's not whether or not we should have an NHI fund, but whether it's appropriate for us to move into this single fund approach where the whole health system is basically funded through tax revenue, as opposed to having sort of a multi-payer environment and leveraging other sources of financing for healthcare services. And we've seen from experience in other countries that there's a lot of risk attached to a single fund approach. So we don't believe it's necessary to limit the role of medical schemes in order to achieve the objectives of addressing inequality in healthcare access, which is what we all need to sort of put our shoulders to the wheel to do.
Sure, fair enough. So I'm imagining quite a lot of water still to go under the bridge. But it also just sounds like, I mean, this sort of road to good intentions seem to have quite a big and a rough cobblestone surface to it. So that'll be interesting to see how that all pans out in the future. Professor Roseanne, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate that. And I certainly look forward to engaging with you going forward and getting an update in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.